The CX-90 is here. Well, not yet, but the CX-90 and CX-70 update is here, so stay tuned. What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan Sewell Sales at Mitchell Mazda on the Boulevard in Enterprise, and I've been promising you for about a week or so update on the CX-90, and we're going to throw a little bit of CX-70 in there. We've been talking about Mazda's plans moving on from 22, 23, 24, 25, how they're working towards getting 500,000 Mazdas sold in the U.S., and we know that the CX-70 and CX-90 is going to be a big part of that. And how they're going to do that is they're actually going to plan to sell less CX-5s. As you would expect with more crossovers, they are planning or expecting reduced CX-5 sales. But that's okay because Mazda as a whole is going to grow. We're going to see more CX-50 sales. And of course, in 2023, we're going to see more CX-90 sales than CX-9, more CX-30 sales than last year or this year, and CX-70 is going to add to that as well. So it's going to be fantastic, and we're going to see that growth all the way until that 500,000 in 2025. Now, the simple plan that Mazda has is just like they did from CX-7 to CX-5, CX-3 to CX-30, so CX-9 to CX-90, they're wanting to 3x or 4x the expected sales for this year on CX-9. And they're still moving towards their 7th generation strategy that is more premium, more upscale. And so we know, we've talked about the new powertrains. You're going to have inline 6, you're going to have plug-in hybrid, and a matter of fact, there's going to be 2 inline 6s, a high output and a standard. Don't know if the high output's going to be twin turbo and then we're going to have single turbo, or if we're just going to have a single turbo for high output and a standard inline 6. We haven't got all those details yet, but 3 powertrains, the largest percentage of mix or production is going to be the inline 6. So the non-high output, whether that's a turbo or whatever it may be, we'll find out in January. That's going to be about 60% mix, as they expect more people to be interested in that over the plug-in or over the high output. And this strategy, again, is expected to take the CX-9 in the mid crossover class. The CX-9 ranks 13th in sales. They're expecting the CX-90 to jump to 4th. So that's going to be an amazing jump of 10 spots. Now, I know what all of you are interested about is when will we actually see the CX-90? So we're expecting the first allocation to be in February after the global premiere in January, which I expect it's actually going to be the last day in January. So January 31st, mark your calendars for that global premiere of the CX-90. Then first allocation in February, which means that those vehicles are going to arrive at the end of March, beginning of April, as we've been expecting. And something that Mazda's doing for the first time in a while, they're actually bringing these out into courtesy vehicles, I believe 1 per dealer, and we're going to hold them for 30 or 60 days so that you can come see them, you can come test drive them, see what they're all about, and narrow down what your perfect CX-90 will actually entail. And I've been using a couple of the teaser photos that we've seen in the Artisan Red, of course, with the inline 6 badging, then the latest one showing the plug-in hybrid. There will be one more teaser, so 3 total, in January before the global premiere. Not sure what it's going to be, but it could have something to do with the high output. So expect that around the middle of January. And you may have seen some of these other photos on Facebook as I did. So here's a look at kind of a blacked out, other than the lights look, and it just looks brilliant. And here's one from the rear, and I don't know if this is a CX-60 or CX-90. It looks like the CX-90, and another shot of the rear tail light. Hopefully we'll see more and more photos coming in the near future. But don't forget about this photo you may have seen on Facebook. This is supposedly the CX-70, and this photo is going to help me transition into the conversation on the CX-70, which is not as much as the CX-90, but we know that the CX-90 and the CX-70 are going to be very similar in size and width. However, I think the CX-70 will be a little bit shorter because it won't have that third row. This makes the CX-70 one of the largest in its segment. And although I don't have official specs or dimensions, but I think that the CX-70 is going to be somewhere around 200 or 201, 202 inches long, 78.5 inches wide, and 69 inches high. Now, to show you how that differs from the CX-60, the CX-60 is 187 inches long, 74 inches wide, and 66 inches high. The CX-9, the predecessor to the CX-90, is of course pretty long itself at 199, then 78 inches wide and 68 inches high. So the CX-70 two-row will be one of the largest in its segment, and it's going to be very similar in size to the CX-9. However, it won't have a third row seat, so you can figure more cargo space and more passenger volume. Win-win. The CX-70 will have its reveal or premiere somewhere between July and August of next year, so 2023. It will be a 2024 model also and go on sale in October. Now the 2024, just to give you a little bit of timeline, the 2024 CX-5 and CX-50 are going to be released somewhere around that same time. So we'll have a lot of 2024 crossovers coming into the market at the same time, although the CX-90 will already be here. There's going to be more information and more leaks coming in the next few weeks. Of course, global premiere at the end of January, a tease in the middle of January, so we're really just weeks away from finding out everything we want to find out about the CX-90 and still have to wait a few months on the CX-70. I think that wraps it up for this edition of another Mazda crossover update. I am Jonathan Sewell Sales at Mitchell Mazda on the Boulevard in Enterprise, Alabama, and I'll keep my ear to the ground for all the latest Mazda news. If you have any other questions or comments on new crossovers or anything Mazda, drop them down below. Give me a text at 334-718-0504 and tell me if you're a 90 person or a 70 person, and I'll see you on the next one.